and welcome. So I have been reacting, to this particular video, one man versus the manosphere. So we're now at the body count part, and I had some things to say, so I thought, you know what, I had watched it, so let me rewind and make my commentary on it. So here we come. It's quite interesting, actually. Like, I didn't even think I was going to enjoy this video this much. So,
Girl. Yeah, I got,
We got to pause there. You've been voted out by the majority.
Okay.
Return to your seat.
Thank you. How you doing?
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Great to meet you. I'm Michael. So when you say a woman's body count doesn't matter, I just wanted to ask if there are any conditions or qualifiers to that, or do you literally mean it doesn't matter? Whether if she's a virgin or if she slept with 197 people just last month, it's totally irrelevant to everything. You shouldn't take it into consideration at all.
I mean, obviously, some people are going to have certain values. Like if you're religious, for instance, or if you have like certain social beliefs. My point around this specifically, if I'm going to clarify the claim, is that it matters if you're a single man and you're meeting a woman, on the list of things that you should be concerned about, that you should be worried about, it is so low on that list that you shouldn't even think about it. You should be primarily concerned is she trustworthy? Do you communicate well? Is she fun to be around? Do you have shared values? Do you see yourselves going long term together? Mm-hmm. What she's done in the past is a very, very tiny factor in all those things.
Yeah, so
yeah, about that. At the end of the day, priorities are individual. And of course, he has a great point there where he says that, what should matter is the connection you feel with this person. How do you feel around them? How did they feel around you? Do you feel connected to them in a way that goes beyond experiences? Like, does their presence make you happy? Does it calms you? Do you feel safe in their company, and so on and so forth? Those things. And that what a person does in their past doesn't matter. That part, I'm very skeptical about that. It does matter beyond body count. Like, generally speaking, what a person has done in their past does matter. It matters in a lot of things. And I strongly believe that a person who cannot accept your past should have no business trying to have a future with you, or even have any business being in your present, because they will only see you from the lens of your past. They are not even going to see the present with you, right? And so if a person is so cannot contain or cannot accept, cannot make peace with what your past is, and that goes both ways, really. It goes whether it's the man in the relationship with a woman or a woman with a relationship with in a man. If you don't feel comfortable with a person's past, then I guess it just makes sense to not even try to be in their present at all, because you're just going to make yourselves miserable. That's just that one right there. So we proceed.
I think that that's interesting, but I would say that I think that there's a lot of evidence to suggest that body count and sleeping around and having a lot of sexual partners and experiences actually directly relates to a lot of those traits that you mentioned. So I'm specifically thinking about a study or meta-analysis from the University of Utah, which found that the more sort of sexual history that you have, the more body counts that you have, the higher the predictability of divorces. So I think that
I'm sorry. I think what I understand from what he's saying is that the higher a person's body counts, the more likely they are to be unfaithful or dissatisfied or not content. And that will come up in probably something he will say later, right? So let's proceed.
the specific study that I'm referencing, over if the woman slept with, let's say, over 10 women, is what I think it was, that cohort had by far the highest divorce rate or predictability of divorce. And I think that that's pretty intuitive, right? Like if I had a wife and you had a wife, and my wife slept with 3 women and your wife slept with 40 women, and we're hanging out, and let's say the pool guy comes over and he's going to open up our pool, whose wife do you think has the higher likelihood when the pool guy's 18 pack is out? Whose wife do you think has the higher likelihood of sleeping with the pool guy? It's a little bit obvious, right? That the answer is the woman with 40 plus bodies. And I think that makes sense, right?
That part is where I really disagree. In his opinion, he feels that the person with the most body count is the one that is most likely to be unfaithful. And that is a perspective. It may make sense, it might even be logical, but the part he's omitting is that somebody who has done it a lot might actually get tired. Has he never thought that maybe people can have sexual fatigue? Like they've had sex so much, they've seen, like there isn't anything, like whatever it is, how many packs or what that the guy has that goes into the pool. If a woman has had 40 men in her life, in her past, you somehow think that she hasn't seen that particular type of guy before. There isn't any type of guy she hasn't seen. The one who would be curious, at the very least curious, is the one that has only 1 or 2 body count, or even 0. In fact, the lower the body count for some women, the more it would seem that they will be curious about. And I think it's just even both genders. Like you find a situation where, when men and women, as it were, have sowed their wild oats a lot, chances are they get tired of oats. In fact, the very thought of oats just freaks them out. Like, no, I've had enough of it. It's like when you have eaten a particular food for a very long time versus somebody who is just having a first taste of that food. Like you have eaten it so long, like you are even tired of it. Like, in fact, you're probably almost allergic to it. You find a situation where, and I'll use commercial sex workers as example. Many of them who walk away from commercial sex work, many of those who do, you find a situation where they just want to be single. They're just not, if they don't see a man at all, they'll be happy. Not because they hate men or anything, they've healed from that, but they just want to live the single life, right? And so it would be very hard to even convince a woman who has had a lot of counts to actually be in a relationship because they're just like, they're tired. They're tired. They've had enough. Unlike somebody who has not had that before. So that is a perspective that is missing in the way men think, or even women think about body counts. That somebody who's had several, they're tired. Like, and now, just like the other guy was saying, that what should matter most to you is how you feel around them versus unlike what their past looks like. Because at the end of the day, when you've had lived experiences yourself, what really matters is the present and the future that you can have with somebody, the hope of a future, the way they make you feel different from any other person, the way you two light up in each other's company, the way you have shared values right now. And that's when the past becomes small, in comparison. Like you don't just allow it to have an effect. But if you have not had lived experiences, and you let's just see people with more experience sort of see things, they just want something new. They want a new experience. And thinking about how many people somebody has been with, in fact, they get scared. You understand? When somebody has not had experience, they're looking and be like, they're thinking, what is to say that you are not going to leave because you want to experience something that you've never experienced before. I mean, what is there to experience? What is there to live for? What would be the reason for divorce? Maybe the reason for divorce for a woman who's had counts is probably because she's addicted. And that's another thing. Even with addicts, right? Even with those that are addicted, they get tired. That is even when they even begin to realize they're addicted because they don't want to and they find themselves doing it. So it's like they're now being compelled to do something that they don't really want to do. Like their bodies have gotten used to it. And at that point in time, they're seeking solutions. So even somebody who is an addict is not even an addict because they want to, is because their body mechanism is stuck somehow in a loop of that situation. And now they're like, I just want to get out of this. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to. I don't want to feel compelled to do something. Like being compelled from the inside is a very terrible thing. It's like an autoimmune, emotional, or psychological problem. Like your body, your will is fighting, you're fighting against your own will or something along those lines. So even addicted people, they're seeking to be free. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that is the consideration that this man is inputting there. And every other man that thinks like him, like, oh, well, the higher the body count, the more chances of being unfaithful. That's not true. Really. That's not true. It could swing either way. It could swing it either way. That's just the truth. But hey, let's proceed.
Have more sexual experience. They have more things that they're using a comparison based off of. It's part of a larger social trend where we're being a little bit more flippant, or we're succumbing to our hedonistic desires. Whereas somebody who doesn't do those things is probably a little bit more of a loyal partner.
So I don't think it's obvious that the wife who has slept with 40 people would be more likely to sleep with the pool guy, because let me turn that around for you. Somebody who is dating somebody or marrying somebody who's very sexually experienced, they have had a lot of different experiences. Exactly. So they're going to have a better understanding of what they like, what they want. And so when they commit to you, they're making a much better formed commitment. And so as long as there is trust and integrity in that relationship, right? As long as you trust that your wife is being honest to you and being honest about her experiences and being honest about what she wants, there's no increased likelihood that she's going to sleep with the pool guy. And by the way, that same study that you just mentioned, what's interesting about it is that women who slept from between 3 to 9 different partners are actually less likely to get divorced than women who slept with 1 or 2 partners prior to meeting their husbands.
Okay, we got to pause there. You've been voted out by the majority.
Thank you.
Imagine. Yep. That study is a beast. Let me rewind. Okay, so it says Wolfinger's analysis found that while women with 3 to 9 partners had lower divorce rates than women with 2 partners, women with 0 to 1 premarital partners had the lowest divorce rates overall. Exactly. Therein lies the issue. There is that too little and sometimes too much. The one with the 0 to 1 experience, she doesn't know anything different, right? She doesn't know anything different. That's all she knows. And so, but like this one says, women who've had too much. So it's a difference between a woman who's had too little experience, 0 to none, 0 to little experience, and those who have had too much experience. They're likely to just stay put where they are. They're likely to be content. Yeah, that's the word I've been looking for. They're likely to be contented with what they have because, one, they've either seen too little, experienced too little, or experienced too much. Now, the one who is in between experiences is the one that probably thinks there is more out there, right? That, but then again, if you know that your person you're with, your spouse, now, again, I would make it go either way. If you know that your spouse is one that has wandering eyes, right, then maybe you shouldn't be with them. right? I mean, I should think that is something that you would have noticed. Maybe every couple that are about to get married should go on this temptation island thing to see if they are actually can be faithful in extreme situations. Like I have not watched any of those temptation island things, but I hear stories, and it's often very interesting the things that you hear sometimes. Really, it's often interesting the things you hear, and so I would say what is important is to, instead of looking at the person's history, which is important, I must add, but it's not the most important, because you a safe thing to do, right? To look at somebody's dating history or sexual history, as it were. It's a safe thing to do. It's very, very safe, right? Because you don't want unpleasant surprises along the way, right? But what is the core of the person outside of their sexual experiences? Like, who is this person really? That is what would tell you whether this person is somebody you can have a a long-term relationship with, right? But at the same time, sometimes the danger of focusing on past sexual experiences is that you are only marrying somebody, or you're only dating somebody because of how little they know. So, like, that is risky also in itself, because if they do get exposed to something tempting, how do you know how they are going to react? That is where similar values now come in. That is the place where honesty, faithfulness, and integrity comes in. And that is when you realize that faithfulness and loyalty is not bound to women that have little experiences, or it's bound to persons, irrespective of how much or how less experiences they have, right? Like a person who has not been tempted, you would never know whether they will fall for that temptation or stand against it or run away from it. You never know. That has not been tested at all. So it's a gamble. So when you now date someone based on, oh, this person has little or no experience, it's like you're only marrying somebody because they are clean enough for you, not necessarily because you like them, but you are with them because you feel safe with them. That is different, really. That is a different one right there. Well, there we have it. Don't I mean, if you have want more of this, you can always go to the it's a Jubilee video, by the way. It's one anti-manosphere versus 20 manospheres, right? And I like the way the man is really, really patiently articulating and explaining his points. Like, so far, it has not been an inflammatory one, it has been a conversation, really. And I look forward to watching the rest of the video later. So, all right, then. Um, Guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life. Love God with all your heart, with all your strength, and learn how to love yourself from your interactions and your relationship with God. That is how you know what love is, and that is how you know how to love yourself, and that's where you learn how to love others correctly. All right then. Peace.